Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Anda sedang menonton agenda Awani secara langsung di studio Awani Bukit Kewangan Kuala Lumpur. Dan malam ini saya ingin memandang ke arah parti MCA. Kerana selepas Perhimpunan Agung UMNO, maka sebagai antara parti komponen yang begitu penting dalam Barisan Nasional, tentunya kita mahu melihat apakah pola kepimpinan baru yang akan ada. Kerana sudah pasti ketua yang paling tinggi itu akan berubah, tetapi hari ini adalah hari penamaan calon yang telah pun ditutup pukul 5 tadi. Suami Sulaiman dalam agenda Awani sebelum ini telah pun memberikan anda senarainya, tapi pembacaan yang lebih dalam itu akan dibincangkan di sini. Oleh itu saya ingin meminta izin untuk berbicara dalam bahasa Inggeris. A lot have been said about the tussle for leadership in MCA. However, the bigger picture says that whatever happened inside the party must correlate to the reality on ground. The aspiration for leadership by the majority inside the Chinese community. What do they want? Who do they want? What kind of leadership do they look for? Because of that, I have the right person to speak to me. So from 7:45 straight into agenda Awani, political analyst for the longest time, looking at not only MCA but the whole scenario for the nation. If I can start, I know people like to look at two tigers, one hero, or whatever, but at the end of the day, with the changing aspiration of voters, not only voters, but people who cannot vote also at the age of 16, 17, very vocal nowadays, and new media opens up the flood for them to do so. If we take out the Chinese community first, if we start from that point, the Chinese community and any data in this country will show you relatively more affluent than the other communities. Chances are better educated. So this is the most savvy community that you have, if I put it that way. So why would the most savvy community, by sheer comparison, want from a party like MCA, who've been around for a long time and had the most biggest challenge ever in the last general election, and if that was the message sent by the people, so how would any way, whichever way, the nomination today has proven, and the votes that will be determined in a few days' time, whatever way it shapes out to be, anybody, him or her, would have to listen to this strong voice coming from the outside. So, because I'm looking from the outside, so I like to come from that picture. But please match that with how you see the close of nomination today, and where would the possible leadership of MCA be?
Well, you always pose the most difficult questions, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Meaning that I think what happens in the party elections is right now, in a way, it's quite remote from the rest of the world, simply because it's a party election. Everyone's involved in their own, agenda, in a sense that you're trying to get your own support within the party, because you've got to survive within the party first, before you can actually go out and articulate some of these bigger picture stuff. So I think in this party elections, you mentioned earlier that this could be one of the most important party elections that we've seen in recent years. In a way, I agree, and perhaps maybe not, perhaps not so either as well. Simply because I think the party factionalism has we've seen a lot of those. I mean, since 2000, post 2008, and of course in the 90s, and then you have the year 2000, you have the AB team, and then So what you're seeing today is actually, unfortunately, is a remnant of some of these teams. Okay, so now what you are saying is actually, how do we then MCA rise above all that to be able to match the aspirations of the Chinese community?
Because if I was to be practical, you're talking to a community that's very savvy. A lot of people who are in trade and services and business.
Well,
so
I think what you've actually just pointed out is that when you have a community that's supposedly more sophisticated, of course they are a lot more discerning in terms of their political choices.
Exactly.
And that is the very clear signal that I think especially young people nowadays are trying to tell us, to
rather
tell
than look at
MCA.
that as a handicap, why don't people who aspire to be in position take advantage of that, take cognizance of that, and use that to grow up?
Yeah, I think it's easier said than done. I think when you're in the party structure...
Reality inside the party.
Yes, reality inside the party. You have structural issues.
So we're back to real politics discussion.
Real politics. You're back to real politics. It is tough for a party that is that's 50, 60 years old.
We're not expecting
so
180-degree turn or 360 circle. 10%, 20%
No,
change?
you see, the thing is that you may be transforming, you may be changing, but the world's changing faster than you can change, and I think that is the challenge. That's where the MCA is at right now.
Fine. Sorry. Let's go to real politics after this break and see what's our Fui's outlook into this battle this time around, because there's been talk of peace plan and agreed candidates. But I look at 9 candidates fighting for 4 vice president posts, for example. And for the CC, Central Committee, there's 25, but more than 50, I think, fighting for it. So, good pluralism is good, but when you look at centers of power, is it 3 factions? Is it just the ability to celebrate democracy, or what? I'm from the outside. We look at it closely. We talk about that after this break.
Okay.
Terima kasih kerana masih menonton agenda Awani. Kita masih bercakap tentang MCA. Hari ini telah bermula pendapat calon, ditutup pukul 5 tadi. Kita bergerak menuju ke pemilihan dan selepas itu AGM, Perhimpunan Agong. Dalam konteks itu, orang lama memang sudah diketahui. Datuk Seri on tiket kita tahu dan aspirasi beliau cukup jelas dalam pertarungan sebelum ini dan sebagainya. Tetapi pertarungan di antara Datuk Seri Leong Teong Lai dan Gan Peng Siu, kita perlu bermula di situ, Fui.
Wow, okay. I think, on ticket, I think most people would probably have predicted or will predict that I think the votes that he garnered when he went for president, started with 1,429 votes, and it went down to 1,155 when there was a vote of no confidence against him when he lost by 14 votes. And right down to 578 votes when he lost to Bolsoilek and Kating in 2010. So I think this time round we're looking at, I think the market is at, we're looking at maybe probably about 200 to 300 votes, I think, for tickets. So I think, like you said, it boils down to really Leong Teong Lai and Gan Peng Siu. Both of them, I think maybe perhaps Datuk Seri Liao is a little bit more tested in terms of his post as the minister, and I think that helped to raise his profile, and plus he was the youth chief for a term, and he was the deputy minister for youth and sports. So I think in terms of profiling, and he has I think an edge over Peng So, partly also because he is still the member of parliament of Bentong. And the way I see it from the inside, is that Liao has certainly a stronger team. It is said that he is, personalities like Wee Ka Siong, Chu Mei Fen, Wee Jek Seng, He Kwok Chung, these are aligned to Liao. Gan Peng Siu is at this point is a little bit of a dark horse, I think, looking from the outside. Now, the president has, I'm not too sure, but the way I see it is that he may have the somewhat implicit support of the president, but certainly not an explicit support by the president. So I think going on the back of that, considering that he's not a member of parliament, he is untested, there could be a slight challenge for him against Liao. Nonetheless, he I think will get some support from Johor because that's his home state. And Johorians are very, they're usually very supportive of their candidates, and it's by tradition they do want to see a president from Johor.
Yes. So if we look at it, if the number one and the number two is probably going to be decided how number one post goes.
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily.
So.
No, no, not necessarily so. Simply because there are three factions. The way I see it, there are three factions within the party, and clearly, the way I see it, Donald Lim is a non-Select, non-Liao camp. So, but his strength is that he holds the Selangor faction. And that could be again a sizable chunk of the votes against Wee Ka Siong.
So then that leaves the vice president post, which is only 4, and the peace plan was supposed to narrow down it to exactly 4.
To exactly 4, but
2
we have
from
9.
each side.
Yes,
but now we have 9. So these other 5, where did they come from?
Don't know. Maybe the peace plan didn't work.
Okay. so that would represent, assuming the hypothesis is that's good for pluralism of voices in the party, isn't it?
Well, I think on one hand, yes, it's good to see it from a very positive viewpoint. Is that from the outside, but it also shows that I think the teams are aligned in different, very clear along these different teams, different teams. And now, if in the case that if you see a certain group, probably not getting all the votes that they want or all the positions that want, what my concern is, I'm hoping that while we leave it to democracy, that let the best men win. I hope that spirit is held on to even post party elections, and that we really need to move on. And the battle really is outside. So the danger of this is that if you get a mixture of two different teams and who may not work together, and then you're going to have a situation. You may have an unstable situation for another 4 years.
But
which
those
is
are
certainly
very strong names.
They're all very strong names. Yes, that's right. They're all very, very strong names. And looking at the names here, you're looking at Wee Kiat, Kong Chow Ha, Wee Jik Sing, He Kwok Chung, Mei Fen, so on. And they're very clear to me. They're aligned. 4 of them are aligned to Liao, and 4 or 5 of them are actually aligned to Solek. 1 or 2 probably just dark horse in there, but very clear. There's 4 on one side and 4 on the other side.
Datin Paduka Mei Fen coming back. As a lady, and this is day of gender empowerment and all.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's not Datuk Sri Nguyen Yen is, probably was the first, woman to be able to break the, if you like, the political glass ceiling. And when you come from a very traditional chauvinistic party like MCA, that is something that you've got to give her credit for. And Mei Fen is I think, the natural successor to this, I hope, great breaking of the glass ceiling. And it would be nice to see another woman in the vice president post again.
Okay, we've done real politics. We have to go for the second break, but once we are back, I want to go to the future, because I like the way Fui put it, that she's already looking at reconciliation after. And in the days when we're still remembering Nelson Mandela and the spirit of reconciliation, what he's best known for, how do we look at that post-party election in the AGM and even beyond. Because whatever it is, the new leadership has not only to look at the Chinese community and MCA, but have to look at Barisan Nasional, relationship with the other component party. And that's not even talking about the Gen Y yet. If we look at PRU 14, for example. So let's go there after this,
all right.
and we'll come back with that.
You're forcing me to.
I have very little time left, so I'm just going to go to the future and then back to the future with Fui on what will happen if, let's say, the different faction wins in the coming election. What would the three possible scenarios be?
Well, three possible scenarios. You're asking me to do an impossible
Well, you have the numbers all there already predicted.
Well, like I said, I think that Australia Tiong's team may have a slight edge over the others, but then you never know. You know, anything can happen last minute. His lineup is quite, to me, it's quite predictable. It's there. The usual personalities are there.
Yes.
I think what will happen is that he will win the presidency,
Yep.
and well, there's a toss between Datuk Wee and Donald Lim. We're not sure exactly. There isn't a clear-cut winner there for now, simply because Wee Ka Siong may have the edge in terms of the youth votes, but then Donald has the edge in terms, as I said, the bloc, the Selangor bloc. Now, if all things go well with the vice president, I think I can see very strong contenders here. It could be a 2-2 situation, meaning that 2 for Liao and 2 on the side of Chua Ti Yong, aka Dr. Chua's team. And then with Ketua Pemuda, I'm quite confident that Chong Sin Woon is going to win, and he is aligned to Liao's camp. And Ketua Wanita, on the other hand, I think Datuk Heng Sai Kee probably will have, at this point in time, have an edge. So now, if you have a situation like that, like I said earlier, we were hoping for a party that is, consolidated enough to be able to move forward. I'm quite confident that some of the younger ones, the Ketua Pemuda and Wanita, will be able to fall in line, when things come together. Now, I think to answer your question about how relevant MCA is, the future party, vis-a-vis, what's happening outside, let's look at the party EGM results. Okay. Very, very significantly, if you look at the resolution number 2 in the EGM that has just passed, is that they, on MCA accepting ministerial post, deputy ministerial post, and so on. And I would say Liao's team lost very narrowly by 10 votes. I think the message is people really want to see, and members themselves are faced with very real questions every day, when they're facing that, when they go out to the community, as that what are your leaders doing? Why are they fighting? Why are they not saying, why are they not fighting for my cause? So therefore, what's the point of being in cabinet or in the government if you cannot do all this and you continue to fight? I think the new leadership really needs to take recognition of this resolution number 2. Why the members have very strongly voted and said, look, we want you to fix your house first before, we then
only you can contribute outside.
Think about, contributing outside. Now, if you ask me, yes, I think let's be honest about it. You're talking about 80 to 90% of the Chinese community have not voted, or you say, have not voted for Barisan or MCA, so on. So I don't think it's something that can be fixed, overnight. I think no matter who is going to take on the leadership. But at least the tide must be turned. Tide must be turned. I think it's going to take another generation.
Okay, let me rephrase that another way. I want to take it out of the political context, because sometimes we get so engrossed in political discussion. 90% of Chinese parents, roughly on average, send their children to Chinese type schools.
Sure.
Right? So whatever that is, now, no matter how you look at it, there's a direct correlation to how the Chinese majority community perceive governance. So would the new leadership, whatever they want to do, have to promise that given the chance, the role they play in BN and the ruling government would have to have more impact without even having representation, for example, to influence the way the Barisan National governance of communities all around, not just Chinese, must be done.
I mean, issues of governance, issue of transparency, it cuts across all, or not all ethnicity.
Yes.
And because I suppose with the Chinese community being more vocal and discerning, they have...
Education, come on, it's a big issue.
Yeah, but what you're alluding to is that because they're Chinese educated, they are necessarily more informed.
No, maybe because they
Actually,
don't,
it's not
if
the
they
case.
if they look at the national type school, like, they don't have faith that that's the best pursuit for bread and butter for their kids.
Well, again, we were making the assumption that Chinese education necessarily provide them with the economic backing and the competitive advantage. I think I beg to differ. I think the thing is I think for the Chinese community is an accumulation of a lot of policies that they feel are actually unfair and unjust in their eyes for many decades now, and that MCA is somewhat subservient to some of these policies that they feel
So whoever
are
takes
hampering
over
the
have got
advancement.
to go deep inside and grab that thing out, the basis of that, which is not easy according to you.
No, not easy at all.
And it's not easy to discuss this within one episode of Agenda. Kita kena bincangkan itu di lain kali. Terima kasih banyak, Free.
Thank you very
kerana
much.
memberikan pandangan itu. Pandangan yang jujur dan ikhlas. Mungkin tidak disenangi ramai pihak, tapi itulah hakikat yang perlu dilihat, kerana saya rasa perhimpunan kali ini dan pemilihan kali ini bagi MCA adalah begitu-begitu untuk mengenali diri sendiri dan kemudian yang melihat keluar. Tapi kita akan terus ikuti secara dekat sampai ke hari terakhir MCA di Astro Awani. Hantarkan pandangan anda sendiri, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, iOS maupun aplikasi Android di telefon mudah alih anda, dan kita jumpa lagi dalam episod yang lain. Sekian, selamat malam dan terima kasih. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.